Okay, here I have I think it's an amplifier. Well, it's got volume, line input, line output. Comes from the Rest Point Casino. Looks like the LED's following inside there. Mic on and off. Looks like a mic thing. Cool. So maybe that's some sort of tone generator or something. Intercom loop. Line input, line output. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's an amplifier with line in and out. I don't see any speaker connections. You've got this weird RCA, I'm not even sure what that is, 7916 or a 66546 transistor, voltage regulator, I don't know, it looks like a transistor of some sort. Front's a bit bent, so I've got no idea what's in here. It's fairly heavy, so it must be a decent transformer in it, if nothing else. But it may be a fairly rubbishy sort of thing. Or it might have some interesting bit of kit electronics or something in there. Looks kind of homemade. Or, you know, more likely made by an actual professional, but not a commercial unit, I don't think. But you never know. Oh, we've got a massive Sonar power transformer. MM2015, input 240 volt. Secondary AC 12, 15, 12, 15. So is that like, yeah, 2 taps I guess at what sort of, here, 12, 15 and 0 on that side, and I assume the same on the other. So again, it is probably homemade by the look of it. Jesus, done some work by the look of how cooked those boards are. Someone's changed the capacitor in it sometime more recently by the look of it. It's got a little Arlec transformer, which, is it actually a mains transformer? I think it is. Is there a second little power supply on this board? That's what I would guess. This goes between the, what's 0 volt. We've got the 12 connected to the 0 volt, yeah, and that would be the other 12, I guess. There's about 24 volts. A couple of fairly homemade looking little boards there. Must be like preamps or something. And what is that board? Looks like someone's took the original cap off and mounted one on the back panel, only with one screw. Pretty rough. You've got a CA741, it's a bit an op amp. Is that a 555 timer? I think it's got a 555 timer in there, and a couple of bigger transistors, or one bigger one, and a couple of, well, 3 TO126s, some big resistors. So I've got no idea exactly what I'm looking at here. Let's have a look. So it's got power in there. It's got that big transistor mounted on it. It's got a resistor. It looks like it's been very hot at some point. And that goes across to this board. So it's got line input, line output. They seem to be hooked into that board. Is that the same board as this one? Looks like it. So line input, line output, intercom loop. So it's literally looped together, and then but it's also connected to one of these other boards. But I don't know any more than that. Someone's made a bracket to hold it, so it mounts with the pots. Okay, well, I pulled this thing apart a bit more. I did research that transformer. It turns out these are actually sold by J-Car. You can still buy them for $37 or $38, I think it was. MM2015 is their actual catalogue number they put it under. So I thought that looked fairly new, and you can actually see on the base here there's a bit of a mark. So sometime recently it looks like they've replaced the transformer. And yeah, this big cap, that cap, looks like that was originally mounted on the board. This whole thing's got a coating of some sort of brown stuff, which may well be like from cooking or something. It's got that kind of look like the inside of a microwave oven or something, with that sort of brown coating. Maybe it's something completely unrelated to that, but it looks a lot like some sort of greasy brown coatings ended up included on the circuit boards and these sockets and stuff. But yeah, I don't know what these little circuits are exactly. That one's got parts missing. The other one with is stuck here by the call switch. That actually has that part of the board populated. Although actually, is it even, where are we? We're going to go around that way. Get them side by side, so it's this back corner here. So I think it's basically the same thing, but it's got more resistors, caps, and a couple of extra transistors in the back there. I thought maybe these are some electronic kit or something, but not sure what they are. There's nothing on the boards to say anything. I pulled out this power board and had a quick look, and again, nothing really there. Someone's recently written in pencil the positive side of the caps, which is a bit amateur looking, but don't know. But anyway, anyone could have repaired it, I guess. So I didn't actually, I was going to look in JCar to see if they had this style of whatever these brand of caps was. What were they? Suntan. Suntan, yeah, that's an interesting. This whole thing's got a suntan with that brown coating. But yes, there's nothing particularly exciting in here. It's not an actual amplifier, which is what I suspected looking at the sockets on it. There's obviously no speaker connections. But probably a couple of useful transformers might be worth salvaging out of it. Looks like someone's cut the other side of that centre tap winding right off short, but you could probably connect to that again. Does that have a number, that transformer? 6474 is all it's got on it. I'm not sure if that means anything. But in this case, if I could actually bend the ends here straight, it's actually bowed the central part out because they've been dropped or whatever, but might be able to salvage this 19-inch rack case or something. Decent heatsink on the back. I'll say there's a $37 transformer in there, so I think I got me $10 worth out of it. These knobs were just the ones you pull the little, quite nice design, you pull the little insert off the end and undo the nut there, and they just sort of squeeze on. I forget what they call them now, but they're a good design. No grub screws, but they fit on the older style, these pots with the old D-shaped shaft on them. These have been sawn right off. So there's a few potentiometers and other odds and sods. It's the LED that had fallen inside with some ancient old resistor on it. But yeah, I don't think these things have any particular value, but I thought it'd be interesting to see what's actually in it and whether it's of any value for anything. But I think I'll just leave it in pieces like that. And that's, I mean, that switch there is a really nice quality. Does it have a brand on it? It probably does, but whether I can read it. Really nice quality switch there. I guess I should probably snip those wires off, since I don't think I'm ever going to hook any of this up again. They can soon be repaired if need be, since the colours are still there. But yeah, I can't see this being of any value for anything. But yeah, that's a really nice Swiss made. It's a, what does that say? You can't read these things. DEA? Oh, is that an OEA? I guess if they're lowercase letters, which they seem to be. Yeah, it seems to be an O, an E and an A formed out of the same figure as the E, but upside down sort of thing. Oh, there it is there. It's the other way around. EAO. Lamp max 60 volt 1.2 watt or 1.2 watt, I don't know. EAO, Swiss made. I'd hate to think this would have been a quite expensive switch back in its day. So I guess that's what the three wires are for. One's for the lamp and two for the, oh, that might be part of the lamp there. Maybe they're both the lamp, and they're the switch contacts. Someone's been able to hook the lamp to whatever the switch contact's connected to, if one on the side is ground or something. Yeah, it's a really nice, just such a beautiful feel. Really nice, those sort of switches, but I don't have much use for momentary contact switches these days. And there was a funny little short, really short shafted switch there. Little toggle switch. I had to undo that because these parts were going through these brackets on the front, which held it to the front panel. And that was an MJ3055? No, JE. I'll be MJE, I guess. Got the Motorola M there. MJE 3055 transistor, BD139, BD140. Still don't know exactly what that timer chip is meant to do, but just looks like a general sort of regulator board. But what this thing actually was, not 100% sure. but it'll be a nice source of bits and pieces. I sort of grabbed it on the wrist. I thought there was a fairly low chance it would be an amp, but I knew it had something like a solid transformer in there. But that thing can do, it says 50 VA, 50 watts roughly, which I think at 12 volt works out at around 4 amps. But I think JK, what they're recommending is, of course, you can put the windings in parallel or series and get 30 volts, and I guess up to something like 50 watts. But if you put them in parallel, you can get only up to either 12 or 15 volts, but you can get 6 amps out of it, they sort of recommend. I mean, in theory, going at that rating, it's probably more like getting up towards 8 maybe, but so she's a decent high current transformer. Even if you've got like 12 volts at 6 amps is quite a nice little amount of voltage and current to get out of something. So it's a pretty solid transformer. But whether I'll use it or not, I might even take this out of this thing and stick it in my transformer drawer, because that is the sort of thing that could be handy for something, some little project, even for like powering garden lights or LED light strips or something like that. Though you can buy the switch mode power supply so cheap these days, it's barely worth your time to actually build something. But you could use the 12 volts straight out of that on incandescent lamps or something. So I'll see what I do with that. But I'm sure some of these parts will come in useful for something. So thanks for watching.